this is we're going to make this lower third logo for the announcements. This is what it's going to look like, something like that. It's going to come on the screen and then go off the screen, and you're each going to make your own so that when you are on the announcements, the editor can just pop your name in there for the week and that will show up. Obviously it won't be this big. We will scale it down and put it over in the corner. That's why it's called a lower third. It takes up the lower third of the screen. All right, so this is what we want it to look like. So we're gonna start from here and then work backwards. So go to After Effects. I'm gonna start a new composition. So when you open up After Effects, just hit New Project, and then you're gonna come down here and hit Create New Composition, and we're gonna make it 6 seconds long. So you don't need to change the width, the height. It should be 1920 by 1080, standard HD, and we'll call it lower third, and make sure it's 6 seconds for duration and hit OK. All right, so the first thing we need to do is create a rectangle, and make it about that big. For the fill, color, you want to come up here to the word fill, click on it, and instead of hitting solid color, we don't want it to be solid. We want it to be this linear gradient. So we'll click on that and we'll hit OK. Actually, you know what? We better make it solid so that everybody has the same colors, because everybody will have different colors, like a different shade. So we'll go back up to fill and we'll hit solid, and then you can click on this square right here, and we're just gonna go all the way up in the right hand corner for that red and hit OK. So there you go. The next thing you're gonna do is make sure that you deselect everything down here. Just click off of that shape layer. Actually, we're gonna rename this. So you can click on this, hit enter, and we'll call it red box. And then we'll deselect, and we're gonna click on the text tool. We're just gonna type our name, our last name here, and we want the font to be Babas Niue, which we all should have. And I'm gonna make it about, whoops, and make sure that's selected. If you get this, by the way, when you try and make it bigger or move it, if you get this error message, it's because the caps lock is on. You turn off caps locks. That should fix it. We're gonna make this like 150, let's say. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we'll make it 140 so that some of you guys have longer last names. There we go, 140, and then we're gonna slide it towards the end of the rectangle so that we have room for that Quaker Sam. I'm gonna put this Quaker Sam PNG in the shared folder in the classroom, so you can just download that from the classroom, this Quaker, and then the Quaker Sam PNG, and then you can double click here to bring it in. So you would just double click here and bring in Quaker Sam logo. I already have it here. So I am going to drag it on top of my last name. Obviously it's way too big, so to scale it down, I'm just gonna make sure it's selected and hit S for scale. And then I'm gonna make it like, let's say 60. And then I will move it over here still might be too big, huh? Yeah, maybe not. Let's see what 50 looks like. Yeah, we'll make it 50. And I kind of want, if I hide this, I kind of want the end of this rectangle to split Quaker Sam in half. So like something like that. And I can move my name over. Okay, now that that's done, we need like the outline around the box. So I'm going to hide Quaker Sam and my last name so I just see this box. And I'm just going to click on red box and hit Control D to duplicate it. And red box 2, I'm going to click enter and rename it white outline. And then I'm going to move that below the red box. Obviously, we can't see it. It's the exact same shape, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to change the fill color to white, to pure white, all the way to the top left-hand corner. We still can't see it because it's obviously the exact same size. So what I want to do, I'm sorry, I don't want to fill, sorry. So I want to click on the word fill. Click this box with the arrow in it for none, no fill, and then the stroke I want to be white. And we're gonna make that 10 pixels wide. And we're gonna scale this up so that there's a little bit of black. So if I just click on white outline and hit S for scale, I want to uncheck this. I want to unlink the width and the height so I can make them taller and wider separately. So I'm going to make it higher than the rectangle so there's black on each side, and wider so it's equal all the way around. So you should have the same amount of black space. Something like that. There. So it should look something like that. Okay? And then all right, so now with white outline selected, I don't want the whole box here. I can bring back the name, Quaker Sam, and my last name as well. So with the white outline layer selected, I'm going to come up here to this little triangle next to add, and I'm going to add trim paths. And then these trim path options should show up. We have the start, the end, and the offset. So what I want to do is, okay, so starting from the start is this right hand corner. I'm gonna move, let's see. Here we go. I want this, I want the start, like this is where my last name is gonna be. If I go back and look at this lower third, you can see it ends with enough room for my last name. So I'm gonna leave some room for my last name, and I want it to end, let's see, I want it to end somewhere. Let me hide the Quaker Sam again, like that. That's good. Now I'm gonna move this Quaker Sam, whoops. I'm gonna move Quaker Sam down so it covers up the white. All right, so that's what it's gonna look like. Now your line might end here or over here, depending on how long your last name is. But for right now, that looks good. I'm gonna click on my last name and just duplicate that layer to bring up to create another text layer, and I'm going to double click on that and type my first name. And then I'm going to make sure I have the arrow selected up here so I can move it. And have to take caps lock off again. And I want it to be like half the size of my last name. So 140. We're going to go 75. Let's make it 80. We'll make it 80. I'm going to move that over here. All right, so I'm gonna move my last name closer to Quaker Sam. That's good. And I want my first name to be kind of like in line with my last name. So then we can come back down to the white outline and go back to those trim paths, and we'll make the start offset a little bit closer. Leave some room there. All right, so there we go. That is pretty good. Now I'm gonna put, if we go back and look at the one that I already did, you can see there's a little shadow here and then on the last name as well. So let's do that. I'm just gonna come over here to Effects and Presets and type in drop shadow. You can just type in drop and that should populate. I'm just gonna drag the drop shadow onto Quaker Sam. And then the distance, I'm going to make it distance farther away. And that's kind of like too harsh of a shadow, so I'm just going to increase the softness so it looks a little bit blurrier. Maybe I'll make it, change the angle of it. All right, that's good. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my last name. Drag drop shadow onto my last name. And again, I will increase the distance. I'm going to change the angle and then increase the softness to about 80. All right, that looks good. So there you go. That should be it. That's what we want it to look like. Okay, so now it's time to animate this thing. The first thing we need to do is group my last name and the red triangle together. So I'm going to select my last name and hold Shift and then click on the red box layer so that they're both highlighted. And I'm going to right click and hit pre-compose. It's basically just grouping them together, and we'll call that last name box. All right, and okay. So the first thing that we'll animate, I guess, is the Quaker Sam. So this whole animation should take about 1 second. So, and since Quaker Sam is going to come on first, we'll take the playhead to about, 20 frames. And click on Quaker Sam, and we're going to hit P for position. And, sorry, not P for position. We're going to hit S for scale, and we're going to click this stopwatch to set a keyframe. And then we're going to hit R for rotation. And we're going to click this stopwatch to set a keyframe. And then if I click on the Quaker Sam logo and hit U on the keyboard, that will bring up both keyframes so I can work with both of them at the same time. Okay, so we're saying that 20 frames, I want Quaker Sam to be this size and at this rotation. So now I'm going to take the playhead back to the beginning, and I'm going to rotate it to the left about 25, negative 25, I guess. I'll just type in negative 25, enter. And then I want it, obviously, the scale to be 0. So I'm just click there and hit 0. And then if I hit the space bar, you can see it kind of comes from nothing and rotates in. All right, and it's way too slow, but That's what we're gonna start with. So I'm gonna take these keyframes, highlight both of them. I can just draw a box around them and move them back to like, I don't know, 15, in the middle of 10 and 20, so like 15 frames, something like that. And I'm also, if I highlight all 4 of these keyframes and then right click over top of one of them and go to Keyframe Assistant and easy ease it in. Now if I take the playhead back to the beginning, hit spacebar, it's a little bit better. Kind of eases into that. And also, if we go back and look at this, we can see that the Quaker Sam kind of gets bigger before it gets smaller. So that's what we want to do here. So how about like a 10 frame now? So we're gonna put the playhead right back over top of these keyframes, and I'm gonna make the scale like 80. About like 70. 70, and then I'll take it like 5 more frames out and make it back to 50. Oh, whoops. Oh my gosh. Sorry. This should be 70, and then this should be 50. Sorry. It's gonna get smaller. And this should be 0. I don't know what just happened there. Okay, better. And it's still way too slow, so I'm gonna take these keyframes and move them back to like 10 frames so it finishes at like 15 frames, half a second. There we go. That's what we're after right there. All right, and then, so I want the box obviously to animate in from the Quaker Sam head. If we go back to this, you can see when it gets big enough, then the box starts shooting out there, so you can't see it. So I'm going to, let's take it to 1 second. I can close this up. 1 second, and then I'm gonna click on this grouped last name box, and I'm gonna say at 1 second, I'm gonna bring up the P for position and click the stopwatch. So at 1 second, I want it to be right there. And then I'm gonna take the playhead back to where we can start taking it out. Like maybe there, because the Quaker Sam will cover it. Oh, you know what I have to do first? Sorry. Before that even happens, I have to draw a box so that it can shoot out of it. So I'm going to deselect everything down here and go up to rectangle, and off of the screen I'm going to draw a box that comes out here, and I'm going to take the stroke off. I don't think this matters, but and I'm going to put a solid color fill on it. And I can just solo these layers, so they're the only ones that I'm seeing by looking, just clicking here and here. All right, so now these are the only 2 layers that I'm seeing. All right, so at 1 second, I have a keyframe set here saying that this is the position it's going to be. And I think I need to move, yeah, that's good. So I'm gonna take the playhead back to about 10 frames, and then I'm gonna move the position. Oh gosh, before I do that, I'm sorry. I'm gonna toggle my switches and modes so I can see the track mats here. If you can't see track mat, you just need to click toggle switches and modes. I'm gonna move this Quaker Sam up so that the shape layer is right. The shape layer I just made is right above my last name. Here we go. So it should look like that. And then I'm gonna make the track mat of the white shape layer alpha inverted. Oh no, that's not what I want to do. I want to make the track mat of the last name box alpha inverted. There we go. And then that box should disappear. And so now with the playhead at 10 frames, I'm going to take the position of that so that it's completely hidden by that box. There we go. Now if I bring all the layers back into view, whoops, except I don't want to see that white box. Alright, so if I hit the space bar, here we go. And it's happening way too slow, so I'm going to highlight both of these keyframes and drag them back here. And maybe I'm going to take this to about 25 frames. I'm going to highlight both of them, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. There we go, that's better. And then if I want to make this even smoother, with both of these keyframes selected, I'm going to go to the graph editor right here, and I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at the speed graph. You can change the graph that you're looking at by clicking here on this icon. Yours might be on value. Change it to speed graph, make sure it's on speed graph. And I'm just going to highlight this point here. So this is the last keyframe, this is the first keyframe. I'm going to take this yellow handle and drag it in towards the middle so that the animation kind of starts really fast and then slows down, gradually slows down. So now if I look at that, it kind of shoots on really fast and then eases into it. All right, and then to get back to the timeline, I'm going to click on the graph editor again. All right, that looks good. Now I'm going to animate the white outline. And to do that, I'm going to go back to white outline, or back to the trim pass here, and we're going to say at 1 second, I'm going to make the, let's see, is it start or end? Control Z that. The start, I'm going to click a keyframe for the start. That should be all I need to do. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to hide this Quaker Sam so that we can see the end. And I'm going to take this back. I want this white line to start animating. Let me see that Quaker Sam again. Right about here. Right when you see the red box come out. Let's make it so the red box is about halfway, a little bit more than halfway, and then we'll start animating the white line. So let me hide this Quaker Sam again, and I'm going to take the start back to the beginning until you can't see it. That should be it. I guess it should be the exact number as the end. Duh. All right, and let me bring Quaker Sam back in. See what that looks like. There we go. It's a little fast, maybe. We want to slow that down. So I'm going to highlight these keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. I'm going to go to the graph editor, and I'm going to really try and slow that down. Let's see what that looks like. It's still really fast. So I'm going to take the start one, drag it back to like 10 seconds. That's all right, I guess. Okay, we kind of wanted to use this white outline to push the last name onto, or the first name on. If we go back and look at the one I already did, kind of like pushes the first name on, something like that. It's a little bit slower, probably better, but let's see. Man, that's fast. So maybe we're gonna drag this out to 1 second and 10 frames, so like there. That's better. Okay, so now we just have to animate the first name, and to do that, we need to, it needs to be similar to what we did with the last name box. So at 1 second and 10 frames, we're gonna click on the layer Mike, and we're gonna bring up P for position, and we're gonna click a stopwatch to make a keyframe. We also have to hide this, right? So we have to draw another box. So I'm gonna deselect everything, go up to my shape layer, the rectangle tool, and I'm gonna draw a box a little bit bigger than my first name so that I can hide it. And I'm gonna drag that layer right on top of my first name, and then I'm gonna change the track map from my first name to alpha inverted that. Okay, and so now I'm gonna drag this back. So like, I don't know, about there, like 1 second maybe. And I'm gonna take the position and hide, take it over to the right so it's hidden. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's good. I need to be quicker so I can like drag it closer, like in between 1 second and 10 frames. So like 1 second and 5 frames. Man, that's looks awful. I need to start it earlier, I guess. I'm gonna take it there. All right, that's better. So maybe I start it at 25 frames and end it at 35 frames. Better. And then obviously I can highlight them, go to keyframe assistant, easy ease, and maybe I even go into the graph editor and slow it down a little bit, see what that looks like. Yeah, it's good. Not bad. All right, so that's it. So now what I want to do, we have our animation done. I'm gonna take it to the playhead to 3 seconds, and I'm gonna highlight all of these layers by just dragging a box around all these layers. Right click, hit pre-compose, and I'm gonna call it lower third in. And now it's one layer, and I'm gonna make sure that the playhead is right on 3 seconds, and I'm gonna hold Alt and right bracket to cut it. So Alt, right bracket, that cuts the layer. Then I'm gonna duplicate that layer by making sure it's selected and hitting Control D. And I'm gonna take this layer and drag the bottom one and drag it to the end. Right about there. And then I'm just gonna right click on it and go to time and time reverse layer. So now it's reversed. That should be it. So if I take the playhead back to the beginning, hit spacebar, it stays on, and then it goes off. Let's see that. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Okay, here we go. We're done. We did it. Congrats. Okay, so now we need to export this. So to do that, we're going to make sure that there's a blue outliner on the timeline here, and we're going to go up to composition, add to render queue, and I need to click on this lossless, because right now if I check this, you can see that there's no, this black background is just, it's not really a background. It's just so that we can see our workspace better. So if we toggle this off, we see that there's no background, and if we just exported it without changing anything, there would be a black background. So we don't want that. We want this to be able to go over video with nothing behind it. So we go to lossless. So composition, add to render queue, click on lossless. And for the channels, we want to change it from RGB to RGB plus the alpha channel. The alpha channel meaning there's no background there. And we're going to hit OK. And then output, we're going to click on that, output 2, and we're going to call it your last name. So it would be Debar lower third. And you'll save that to your flash drive or your desktop or whatever, and then we can put it on the Lacy. So I'll just save it to the desktop, and I'm going to hit render. Okay, we're done. Let's see if I have any just looking for some video here. I'm gonna open up Premiere. Just show you how we're gonna use it. You don't have to do any of this. It's just to show you. Double click in here, go to desktop, bring in these announcements. I'm going to bring in this lower third. Double click to open. I'm going to go right to where they start introducing themselves. Whatever. I'm going to drag this in. And then I'm going to drag the lower third right on top of it. And you can see, obviously it's way too big. So the editor is just going to do this, this, and this. And so now when they introduce themselves.
Welcome back to Studio 203. I'm Haley.
They start their name.
And I'm Coach Hamilton, and here are your announcements for Moon Day, October 19th.
There you go. So that's what it will look like. Pretty dope, huh? Right, great, awesome. All right, that's it. Let me know when you're done so we can put it on the Lacy. Great job. Peace.